There's a world out on the highways that most of us never get to see. A world beyond the rest stops, beyond the rumble of engines, beyond the open roads romance. A world known only to truckers, the men and women who drive through lonely nights, strange towns, and eerie highways. Today, we're stepping into that world with 3 chilling true stories from truckers who lived through encounters that still haunt them. Stay with me till the end, because these stories might just make you think twice before taking a late night drive. The first story comes from a veteran long-haul driver named Tom, who'd been trucking for over 15 years. Tom was on a regular road across Wyoming, a stretch of highway known for its brutal winters and endless empty plains. On a particularly cold December night, Tom was hauling freight through a snowstorm when his CB radio crackled to life. He heard a man's voice, clear and calm, saying, "You need to pull over now." Thinking it was another driver warning him of road hazards, Tom asked for clarification, but the radio went dead. A few miles later, the same voice returned, repeating the exact same words, "You need to pull over now." The tone was emotionless, almost robotic. Tom checked his mirrors, no lights, no other trucks in sight. Uneasy but experienced, he pressed on, thinking it was a prank. Then his dashboard lights flickered and his engine began to sputter. Reluctantly, Tom pulled to the side. As he stepped out, wind whipping ice against his face, he noticed fresh footprints in the snow leading up to his door. But here's the thing, there were no other tire tracks near him, and the footprints, they stopped right at his door and disappeared. Tom searched around, shining his flashlight into the blizzard, but found nothing. Shaking, he climbed back into his cab, locked the doors, and stayed put until sunrise. Even now, Tom refuses to drive that stretch at night. Strange, right? But hold on, it only gets darker from here. Let's dive into the second story, one that leaves even seasoned drivers rattled. Our next account comes from Lisa, one of the few female truckers on a cross-country hauling route. Lisa was driving through rural Texas late at night when she stopped at a tiny, almost abandoned gas station for a quick refuel and some coffee. The station attendant was an elderly man who seemed polite enough, but kept glancing nervously behind Lisa. As she paid, the man whispered, "Don't go out there alone. They're waiting." Lisa, thinking he meant some stray dogs or maybe troublemakers, asked who was waiting, but the man refused to say more. Feeling a bit spooked but brushing it off, Lisa returned to her truck. As she got in, she noticed something odd. Her side mirror had been turned inward. That meant someone had touched her truck. She scanned the empty lot, nothing. Then, just as she was about to start the engine, she caught a glimpse in her rearview mirror. A face pressed against her trailer's back window. Gaunt, pale, staring straight at her. Lisa jumped out, heart racing, but when she circled back, there was no one there. She didn't waste a second. She locked her cab, floored it, and drove straight until dawn. She never found out who or what that face belonged to, and that gas station, she later discovered, had been abandoned for over a year. Eerie enough to make you check your mirrors, right? But before we get to the last story, here's something to think about. Truckers spend countless hours alone on the road, but sometimes it's not being alone that's the scary part. It's realizing you aren't. Now for the third story, and this one gets under your skin because it happened on a familiar road. Jake, a young driver fresh into his first year of trucking, was driving along Interstate 80 in Nebraska. It was about 2 in the morning when he saw a woman standing on the shoulder, waving him down. She looked disoriented, barefoot, wearing a thin nightgown despite the freezing weather. Against his better judgment, and feeling concerned for her safety, Jake slowed down and stopped a few feet ahead. He got out cautiously and called out to her, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned around and slowly walked into the field beside the highway. Jake, thinking she was in shock or maybe in danger, followed a few steps, but then she vanished, no sound, no trace, just gone. Shaken, he returned to his cab and radioed for help. When the highway patrol arrived, they searched the area but found nothing. One of the officers then told Jake something that made his blood run cold. 20 years earlier, a woman had been killed on that stretch of highway, hit by a truck while trying to flag it down in the exact same spot. Ever since, drivers had reported seeing her wandering the roadside, always barefoot, always vanishing when approached. Jake still drives that road, but never ever stops for anyone again. Creepy, right? But here's the thing, these aren't just stories. They're real accounts shared by people who spend more time on the road than most of us do anywhere else. And whether you believe in the supernatural or think there's a logical explanation for everything, one fact remains: the open road holds mysteries we may never understand. What's more unsettling, the idea of a ghost, or the fact that some humans can be just as dangerous. And yet, there's another type of horror truckers face, one not often talked about. Sometimes the scariest encounters come from within. Fatigue, hallucinations, isolation, they all play tricks on the mind. Drivers have reported seeing shadowy figures dart across the road, hearing voices in their sleeper cabs, or feeling watched while parked alone. Many chalk it up to exhaustion, others aren't so sure. Imagine driving through a desert stretch for hours on end. No towns, no lights, and suddenly a shape appears in your headlights. Was it real? Or just your mind playing tricks? Some truckers swear these moments felt too real to dismiss. They talk about tapping sounds on their cabs in the dead of night, only to find no one there. Whispers in the wind, or worse, in the cab itself. Makes you wonder how thin the line is between reality and imagination when you're out there alone, doesn't it? One chilling example comes from a driver named Calvin, who was hauling cargo through the Appalachian Mountains. Deep into the night, on a twisting road, Calvin saw a figure step onto the road ahead, a man in a dark coat. Calvin slammed on the brakes, heart pounding, but when he stopped, no one was there. Thinking he'd narrowly avoided an accident, Calvin got out to check, only to find a single black glove lying on the pavement. Calvin picked it up, but as he did, he heard a soft voice whisper directly into his ear. "You're next." He spun around. Nothing. No wind, no sound. Calvin dropped the glove and drove off, faster than he ever had before. Now that's terrifying, but here's something even scarier. According to local legends, the Appalachians are full of strange disappearances, shadow people, and stories of travelers vanishing without a trace. Could Calvin's encounter have been part of something much darker? Truckers aren't just drivers. They're the silent witnesses to America's loneliest, darkest roads. They pass through places most of us will never see, hear things most of us will never hear, and sometimes they bring back stories that chill us to the bone. And yet, for every tale of horror, there's a lesson. A reminder to stay alert, trust your instincts, and never take safety for granted. Because whether it's the unknown, a human threat, or your own mind playing tricks, the road doesn't forgive mistakes. So next time you see a trucker on the highway, maybe give them a little nod. They've probably seen more than we'll ever know. And who knows, maybe the next time you hear a story about a ghostly figure on the road, a mysterious knocking, or a face in the dark, you'll think twice before dismissing it. After all, some stories aren't just stories. If you've made it this far, I've got a question for you. Which one of these stories gave you chills? Or have you ever had a creepy experience on the road yourself? Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to hear your stories, and if you're up for more terrifying true stories, stay tuned, because the next video takes us even deeper into the chilling world of unsolved mysteries and real-life horror.